The simmering decades-long shadow war between Iran and Israel finally boiled over into direct, open confrontation in April 2024, forever changing the strategic landscape of the Middle East. What had been a conflict fought through proxies, cyber attacks, and targeted assassinations escalated into a terrifying exchange of missiles and drones. This was not a war that erupted from a single incident, but rather the culmination of years of escalating tensions, primarily centered on Iran's advancing nuclear program and its expanding influence across the region through its so-called axis of resistance. For Israel, the prospect of a nuclear-armed Iran represented an existential threat that could not be tolerated, leading to a more aggressive posture. The immediate trigger for this dramatic escalation was a series of precise strikes attributed to Israel, which targeted high-ranking Iranian military officials in the region. Iran, feeling its credibility and deterrence posture were on the line, made a historic decision. For the first time, it launched a direct military assault on Israeli territory from its own soil. This act shattered the unwritten rules of their long conflict, moving the battlefront from the periphery, in places like Syria and Lebanon, directly to the heartlands of both nations. The world watched, holding its breath, as the region teetered on the brink of a full-scale, devastating war that could draw in global powers. The core of the conflict revolves around fundamentally opposing visions for the Middle East. Iran seeks to establish itself as the dominant regional power, challenging the long-standing influence of the United States and its allies. It portrays its actions as a defense of Palestinian rights and a stand against Western imperialism, a narrative that resonates deeply with its allies and segments of the Arab and Muslim world. This ideological mission is backed by a network of heavily armed proxy groups, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen, which extend Tehran's reach and provide it with strategic depth, allowing it to challenge Israel on multiple fronts simultaneously. On the other side, Israel views Iran's ambitions and its nuclear program as the single greatest threat to its national security. Successive Israeli governments have vowed to prevent Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon, a red line that has dictated much of its military and diplomatic strategy for years. The escalating conflict, therefore, was seen within Israel not as a war of choice, but as a necessary defensive action to neutralize a clear and present danger. The direct Iranian attack only served to reinforce this conviction, galvanizing Israeli society and its political leadership around the need for a robust and uncompromising defense, setting the stage for a dangerous and unpredictable new phase of hostilities. In the complex calculus of this conflict, Iran managed to claim significant symbolic and strategic victories, particularly in the eyes of its own people and its regional allies. By launching hundreds of drones and missiles directly at Israel, Tehran shattered the aura of Israeli invincibility that had persisted for decades. This bold move was framed as a powerful act of defiance and retribution, projecting an image of strength and resolve. It powerfully signaled to both its supporters and its adversaries that Iran was no longer content to fight only through its proxies. This demonstration of its new long-range strike capabilities, some of which successfully penetrated Israeli defenses, was broadcast as a major achievement. Furthermore, the conflict allowed Iran to energize and mobilize its axis of resistance in an unprecedented show of coordinated force. Militias in Iraq and Syria launched attacks on American bases, while the Houthis in Yemen fired missiles toward Israel, showcasing a united front that stretched across the Middle East. For Tehran, this was a crucial test of its network's loyalty and operational capacity, and it proved to be a success. The ability to orchestrate multi-front pressure on its adversaries solidified Iran's role as the undisputed leader of this anti-Western, anti-Israel coalition, enhancing its prestige among allied groups and reinforcing its strategic influence from the Levant to the Arabian Peninsula. However, these gains came at a staggering price, revealing the deep vulnerabilities plaguing the Islamic Republic. Israel's retaliatory strikes inflicted substantial damage on military infrastructure and key strategic sites within Iran. The conflict resulted in significant casualties, including the loss of senior commanders from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, weakening its command structure. The direct confrontation exposed the limitations of Iran's conventional military forces when faced with a technologically superior adversary. The spectacle of Israeli jets operating with impunity over parts of the region was a stark reminder of the military imbalance that still exists between the two nations. Perhaps the most enduring damage was economic. The war effort, combined with tightened international sanctions led by the United States, sent Iran's already fragile economy into a tailspin. Its national currency, the rial, plummeted to new lows, driving up the cost of living for ordinary Iranians and fueling social discontent. The immense resources diverted to the military campaign meant fewer were available for essential public services, exacerbating the hardships faced by a population already weary from years of economic mismanagement and isolation. Iran may have scored political points, but it was its people who bore the brunt of the economic fallout. Israel's primary achievement in this war was the stunning performance of its multi-layered air defense system. The coordinated interception of over 99% of the incoming Iranian drones and missiles was a technological marvel and a massive strategic victory. Systems like the Iron Dome, Arrow, and David's Sling worked in seamless concert with Allied support to create a nearly impenetrable shield. This successful defense not only saved countless lives and prevented catastrophic damage, but also sent a powerful message of military and technological superiority to Tehran and the entire world. It was a moment of profound national relief and pride, reinforcing the state's promise to protect its citizens. The conflict also brought significant diplomatic gains for Israel. The spectacle of a direct Iranian assault garnered widespread condemnation and sympathy from Western nations, particularly the United States and key European allies. This diplomatic support was crucial, providing political cover for Israel's retaliatory actions and helping to isolate Iran on the global stage. Furthermore, the crisis prompted quiet but significant security cooperation with several Gulf Arab states. Worried about Iranian aggression, nations like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates shared intelligence and provided logistical support, marking a quiet but historic realignment of regional security priorities against a common threat from Tehran. Despite these successes, Israel did not emerge from the conflict unscathed. The handful of Iranian missiles that did get through the defenses caused casualties, damage, and widespread panic among the civilian population. The constant threat of attack forced temporary evacuations, particularly in northern and southern regions, disrupting daily life and creating a palpable sense of anxiety across the country. The wail of air raid sirens became a grimly familiar sound, a psychological toll that lingered long after the immediate threat had passed. This vulnerability, however small, shattered the sense of complete security that many Israelis had taken for granted. The economic cost of this high-tech defense was also enormous. Each interception by the Arrow or David's Sling systems costs millions of dollars, and the sheer scale of the Iranian barrage placed a significant financial strain on the Israeli economy. The government was forced to allocate billions to replenish its expensive interceptor stockpiles and maintain a heightened state of military readiness. This massive defense expenditure diverted funds from other critical sectors, while the conflict itself disrupted business, tourism, and investment, serving as a stark reminder that even a successful defense comes with a very high price tag for the nation's treasury. The United States played a pivotal, albeit carefully calibrated role throughout the crisis. Washington's primary objective was twofold: to ensure Israel's security while simultaneously avoiding direct American military involvement in a wider war with Iran. The Trump administration provided critical intelligence and defensive support, helping Israel intercept the Iranian barrage and offered unwavering diplomatic protection at the United Nations. However, it explicitly refused to participate in any offensive Israeli strikes on Iran, a decision that created some friction with Prime Minister Netanyahu's government, but was seen in Washington as essential to prevent a regional conflagration that could draw in United States troops. The Gulf Arab countries navigated the conflict with extreme caution, balancing their deep-seated fears of Iranian power with a desire to avoid being caught in the crossfire. Publicly, nations like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates called for restraint and de-escalation. Behind the scenes, however, they engaged in unprecedented secret security coordination with Israel and the United States, recognizing that an empowered Iran posed a direct threat to their own stability. Meanwhile, countries like Qatar and Oman leveraged their diplomatic channels with Tehran to act as mediators, working tirelessly to relay messages and encourage a return to diplomacy, highlighting the deep divisions within the Gulf on how to manage the Iranian challenge. Other global powers watched from the sidelines, pursuing their own strategic interests. Russia maintained a posture of tactical neutrality, careful not to alienate either Iran, its partner in Syria, or Israel, with whom it maintains a complex relationship. The chaos in the Middle East also conveniently diverted global attention away from its ongoing war in Ukraine. China, as Iran's largest oil customer, positioned itself as a promoter of peace, primarily to protect its vital energy interests and secure shipping lanes. Beijing used the crisis to criticize American regional dominance, calling for restraint from all sides while subtly advancing its own diplomatic influence in the Gulf. Ultimately, while leaders in Tehran and Jerusalem can both claim certain victories, the Iran-Israel war of 2024 to 2025 produced no clear winner. Instead, it created a more volatile and dangerous Middle East, where the rules of engagement have been violently rewritten. The greatest price, as is so often the case, was paid by ordinary people. From the Iranian citizens struggling under a collapsing economy, to the Israeli families living under the constant threat of missile fire, and to the countless others in Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen caught in the crossfire of proxy battles, the conflict inflicted a heavy human toll. It stands as a tragic testament to the fact that in modern warfare, the lines between victory and loss are often blurred, but the suffering of civilians is always painfully clear.